All right, dude. Dinner was good. As we discussed, you're full. I'm full.
I'm stuffed, man.
It was good. It was a second choice, though.
It was.
It was not the first choice. You had a first choice. It was like a 45-minute wait.
I didn't even think about it, but we should have flew the helicopter out to Cooper's. That would have been good.
It would have been fun.
Yeah.
It would have been fun. So really cool. So this is my observation so far. Like this little compound out here is there's a lot of fun. I mean, you've got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Like, so let me just describe for everybody here, like kind of like, you know, you don't tell them where you live but like what you've got going on here in this compound, this 5-acre kind of compound you've got going on here.
I don't think it's all that, but
that's pretty cool.
It's just it's a house that I live in, and I have an office here and a shop and this little studio. And this building is about to get torn down because we're building a brand new studio. It's actually done. It just needs to be painted and some trim. But building a brand new studio in the back attached to my other shop. So I have a big shop in the back. It's I think it's something like 4,000 square feet or something like that. So, so got a barn in the back, and I got a riding arena.
I didn't see any animals. You got animals?
I got a pig running around.
That's pretty cool.
She's hiding. She was hiding when you came in. So
tell me about your childhood.
Oh man. I grew up in Southern Arizona. I grew up riding dirt bikes, and I grew up in the desert, and we didn't have streets. Everything was dirt. And man, I've been driving since I was like 8 years old. I had my first truck when I was in like, I don't know, 6th or 7th grade. And used to just go pick up my cousins and throw all of our camping stuff in the back, and we'd go out on Bureau of Land Management land, just state property, and we'd go camping. And I mean, I had a pretty rocking childhood for sure. Learned how to do all kinds of stuff, man. I mean, I worked on trucks, and my grandpa taught me how to weld, and so
yeah,
we did it all.
And fast forward a little bit here. So you're doing all that kind of stuff, and then what? Well,
let me think about this here, man. I don't stop to think about my childhood very often.
Yeah.
I was big into sports when I was a kid. Got into high school, played a lot of sports throughout high school, heavy in the automotive program. I built 2 electric cars in high school. This was way before Tesla was ever around.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Trying to think here. Almost went to UTI for automotive, Universal Technical Institute. And then I decided at the last minute that I didn't want to turn wrenches for a living. And then I thought, maybe I should go to the UTI HVAC program. And then I thought, man, I just don't like school. And so I was already in the industry or in the trade, learned it as a young man, or a young kid. So I just decided to just go into the field and just work. And so that's what I did.
Is it a family company, or you work?
Yeah, my dad had a company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got out of high school, and we did the whole HVAC setup, ventilation and everything on a paint and body shop. And I was really into vehicles, and I really wanted to learn the paint and body trade. And so I got with the owner of the paint and body shop, and he offered me a job. And I was like, well, man, I work with my dad. I can't just like quit my dad, And so I ended up working 2 days a week at the body shop and 3 days a week with my dad doing HVAC. So that's what taught me how to do body work and paint cars. And it was really cool, really interesting. And then I had a side business with a friend of mine. We did a lot of like candy paints and, painting hot rods and lowriders and stuff like that. So
did you ever get in trouble?
Did I ever get in trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah. My middle name is Trouble.
What kind of trouble did you get into?
I mean, I've always been, if you tell me the rules and then I'm going to figure out a way to skate around the rules. I don't like being told what to do. It's probably why I don't like having a boss. I've always, anytime I've ever had like a real job where I had to answer to somebody else, I don't like that. And so, being self-employed that's just who I am in my core. So it's really hard for me to answer to somebody.
Some people are just bad employees, right?
I'm an incredible employee. So yeah,
really?
Yeah. So there's something about it where I just don't like people telling me what to do. And, if you can ask me to do something, dude, I'll straight up do it. Right. You tell me to do something, we're going to have a problem.
Are you a contrarian?
I guess give me the definition of what that is.
Like you pretty much like go against the grain on every argument, even if you're like, just sometimes even for the sake of making an argument. That's what a contrarian is. Like,
so I got it. I think I like to play both sides of I like to be able to play devil's advocate, even if I don't agree with what I'm saying. Right. So there's times where I'll be like, dude, I totally agree with you, but I'm going to go ahead and play devil's advocate here for a second. Right. Just to see how you're going to react to this.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a psychological warfare.
I'm always analyzing, dude. Always
Tell
analyzing.
me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for instance, my sister called me today and we were talking about this podcast that I'm supposed to be doing with Bosch in AHR. And she goes, well, I'm going to give him a list of questions. I was like, no, don't do that. She goes, you don't want to let him know? No, I don't. I just want to wing it. She goes, why? And I said, because if I give you what the questions I'm going to ask, then they may not be honest answers. Right.
Yeah.
So you have time to think about what this answer is going to be and you have time to shape it in whatever form you want. But if I can ask you a question and you give it to me in 5 seconds, that's where your heart really is.
And to be clear, and just for everybody that's listening to this, like, or watching this, we didn't prepare any questions.
Mm-mm.
We just, in fact, I wanted to make sure that we just went out, went out to eat actually you invited me to dinner. It was really nice. Thank you. And then I really wanted to, get a chance to like really be candid, like just candid. And here's the thing. Why? Well, you're like one of the most interesting people in the industry. Right. And I've met like a lot of people and I'm like, kind of like fascinated with what you've done with this brand, with like your life and everything like that. And like, but also I've noticed that like your, when you speak, we were talking about intentionality. You have a lot of intentionality when you speak. And earlier I mentioned something about you talking about, and it's a very unique distinction when you hear somebody speak and you use the word serve a lot. And I'd be really curious because that's calculating, right? I'd be really interested to hear how that plays a role in your life and what you do.
I think that the servitude of others is probably one of the greatest things that you can do as a human being. Right. And so that's one of the reasons I love the service business or the service industry, because you're literally serving other people. Yes, you are getting paid for it, but nonetheless, you're still serving other people. And so just doing things for other people and not for yourself is just, again, it's one of the greatest things as a human being that you could possibly do. So I just think being a servant or serving other people is just something that you just can't put a price tag on that,
You talked about something twice in the times that we've spoken about who you serve. And you've been public about this. You've actually posted a lot of things. My faith is actually really, look, I'm a sinner, right? I'm a man of,
aren't we all?
I am not a perfect human being, but I do feel spiritual and close to God. And it's not really about me, but the point is what's that what's that like? What has been like for you? Because you've been intentional about talking about your faith. You've posted things about your faith. I'd be curious, like, what's the genesis of that? How'd that all kind of?
I mean, I grew up in church, and I had a ministry at one point in time in my life where I did music, and I traveled around all over, and I was basically getting paid, and I was doing, Christian hip hop and R&B. But like a lot of people in the world, you just stray from where you're at and what your calling is and where your roots are, and you just got to go figure things out, And I think for me, the rubber met the road where, I went through a divorce, and that was a long process. And through all of that, really brought me back to the foundation, right? And in my faith. And and so now that's just, that's where I am, and that's who I am. And I'm not going anywhere. And it's been very clear to me that I'm to use my gifts and my talents and my platform to reach people, right? And does that mean that I'm sitting here screaming in your face, preaching at you? No, that doesn't mean that, right? But
yeah,
I've been plenty of places and plenty of times where I'm in the right place at the right time, and conversations start happening that I don't even start.
Sure.
It's like people find me, and it was like, that conversation happened, and it was in that moment that person needed that conversation to happen for whatever reason. Right. So I think just being open to, again, being used and being a servant, for other people. That's what this whole brand is. This brand is it's for the community, right? It's here to serve other people. Like, I don't put on an award show for me. You know what I mean? Like,
it's actually, you're 100% right. You don't do it for yourself. Yeah. You're honoring other people. Yeah,
for sure. Like, if it was about me, then I would be on stage as much as I possibly could. And you know what I mean? And trying to and I've been very, again, intentional about, like, this year going into Orlando, about trying to spend the least amount of time on stage, like trying to put all these other people on stage.
Yeah.
And I got my team in the background going, it's your dude, this is your thing. Like, you're the face, you need to be up there. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know what I mean? Like, it's not about me. And so it's, I think when you can figure that out, a lot of things in the world open up, right? You just get your mind where it needs to be, and things change, perspectives change. So.
Yeah. The award show. So, like, super cool. Love the idea. Obviously, I'm friendly with Gil, Tersh, Jennifer, Manzo. So, like, I've gotten the chance to, like, know people. Has it hit you? Like, it's like within the industry of, there's hundreds of thousands, if not maybe millions of people in our industry across the board. And, like, you sell out this event. Like, I know you're humble, but, like, is it to come to a point in time where you're like, shit, this is, like, really freaking cool? Like,
I mean, I say that all the time.
Oh, okay.
This is cool. This is cool. And, it's like, I'm not naive to what I've done, right?
Yeah.
I'm not naive to what I've created. But at the same time, I feel like I do need to remain humble through it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's a healthy level of humility, and a healthy level of a little bit of ego, you know what I mean? But I've figured out over the years how to really balance that, because I used to be way more on the ego side than I was on the humility side, for sure. But at the end of the day, man, this is not about me. This is about other people. You know what I mean? So.
What's the hardest thing you had to do, like, when you were creating this brand, this thing, right? It's like, how do you describe it? Like, you've described it in many ways, but it's like, okay, yes, it's an attire, apparel line. Yes, it's a magazine. Yes, it's this. Yes, it's kind of like a bunch of stuff, right? Yeah. So, like, during this, I don't know, building this, like, culture, right? Pretty sweet. I don't think anybody else has this. I don't think anybody that I know has built anything kind of like what you've done. It's very unique in a way, right? So, but during this, like, what was, like, the like, where the rubber met the road and you were like, shoot, like, this is, like, a pitfall. This is where, like, where was the toughest time you had kind of putting this whole thing together?
Man, that's a interesting question. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is, going into Atlanta, doing the show in Atlanta, I was in the middle of a divorce, right? And so I lost my grandmother that year. I lost my cousin that year. I lost my marriage that year. I lost my business that year. So my life was like just falling apart. And I go into Atlanta, and I left Atlanta 10 grand in the hole. Throwing
Oh,
that
the
show.
event.
Mhm.
The event. Yeah. Wow.
And so, a lot of people don't know all that, right?
No.
And so when I sit down and I tell people like, hey, this is, like, obviously I'm not like, hey man, listen to my story, right? It's just kind of like when you ask the right questions and this conversation unfolds, people are like, dude, I had no idea, like you would never tell that you were going through all of that. And I mask it pretty well, you know what I mean? And I thrive in high stress environments, that I always have. And I think a lot of that is just lends to my mindset of glass half full, no matter what. But for me, I mean, that was probably one of the toughest times in my life. My life is falling apart on this back end, right?
Right.
But I have to put the face on, and I got to put the tux on, and I got to get on stage, and I got to do this thing, you know what I mean? And I got to make sure all these T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And it's, that was pretty intense, man. But, how
many people went the first year of the HVAC Tactical Awards?
That was in Las Vegas. That was 2022, Las Vegas. 120 people sold out the show in less than 24 hours.
And by the way, I was there, but I was not at your event. I came in like I missed it because I came in like the next morning or something like that. And
yeah, you missed out.
I did. And actually, I talked
That
to
was
Gil.
history in the making for sure.
Dude, Gil and I went out that night though, because I landed and the event was over, and he was all dressed to the tens, and we went out that night. We were out late anyway. It might have been the next night. No, it was that night. Yeah. But anyway, so I digress. So that was 125 people. And then the next year was.
Then we went from Vegas to Atlanta.
That's right.
Atlanta was about 260 people.
But you came out of that.
I upside down. I came out of that 10 grand
with 260 people there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. People don't realize.
Was it poor planning, or was it like just like it just didn't?
Do you know what it takes to put on this is not.
Oh yeah, dude.
This is not a let's show up and have dinner.
Oh no.
This is a production.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So what a lot of people don't realize is, the live stream, just to put this thing on a live stream with the camera angles and the microphones and the team behind it.
Can't even imagine.
It's like 20 grand.
Oh yeah.
Then you talk about the audio video, the projectors and the cables and the team. There's another 20 grand, right? Then you look at dinner. So what a lot of people don't think about is when we were in Chicago, the venue, just the venue and dinner and drinks, $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people think, oh, like there's just no way, why am I buying a $120 ticket? Well, because this is what it takes.
Didn't even cover the cost, man. That's a labor of love, man. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And now this year's the biggest year, right? How many? There's 350. You're sold out. I mean, that's
sold out of the show. Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. Good for you. Let me back up here. So. Why? Why?
I ask myself that all the time.
Let's do this 2-part question. Why did you even start HVAC Tactical, like the apparel line? And why then just keep going with why?
I started the apparel line because it was slow season. Everybody knows in the wintertime, maybe not back east, but here in Texas in the wintertime, HVAC's slow, right? So the business is slow. So it comes in waves. I'm sitting in my office and I'm just looking for HVAC shirts and HVAC hats. And I'm finding some stuff, but most of it's pretty gimmicky,
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, I should just make some cool shirts and hats. And I'm like, what we should do? We should just build a brand, like a Nike brand or something, and it'll just be like an HVAC brand. Part of that also came from like, if I'm a Carrier guy, I'm not going to wear a Lennox hat, right? And if I'm a Lennox guy, I'm not going to wear a Ream hat or a Trane hat. And like those hats are like everywhere.
Yeah,
right?
everywhere you go. I have like 25 in my closet.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like, what if we made like a hat that was a brand that just kind of bridged the gap, and it was kind of like brand gnostic, right? It was just a brand that represented, the people, represented the trade, not just an OEM, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that's where the clothing line came from, and that's how it started. And I never put the brand in a box. Obviously, at that moment, I never had an idea of like, man, we should do this and we should do that. It was just like dude, let's just make shirts and some cool hats. And what people probably forget this is that if you have a Gen 1 leather patch hat, that was hand stitched. I hand stitched every single one of those things.
Did you have to teach yourself how to do that stuff?
Yes.
Or did you already know?
No, I know, dude, I knew nothing about running a clothing brand. I know nothing about running a magazine. Dude. I know nothing about putting on award shows, everything that I've done, I've taught myself. I've just learned how to do it. And then I rely on other people who are better at those things than I am. And I take pointers and we go from there. But I just never put the brand in a box, and I just allowed the brand to adapt and be fluid. And this is where we're at, So you have the brand, and then you have like the clothing line is one branch of that. You have the magazine is another branch of that. The award show is another branch of that. And then we have some other stuff that we can't talk about.
We can't talk about it.
No, well, it'll happen, but I just don't know. I don't have a timeline on it yet. So, yeah.
You think something happened to you along the way to be so sort of driven? Like earlier on, we were having a conversation, after dinner and whatnot, and you were saying like you couldn't even believe where you're at today because, literally, you were like, I literally could have died. And I was curious because, when I asked you about your childhood, you really just kind of circumvented it. I'm going to come back around to it because I'm really interested. I'm interested, and I'd love to hear like, is there something that you carry with you that, drives you, or at least you say to yourself, hey, this is my motivating kind of factor, or like, I know that I'm on borrowed time, or.
Well, we're all on borrowed time. I think for me, as a kid, I know as a kid, I always wanted to be like an actor, and I always wanted to be involved in music. And I always told myself as a kid, like I wanted to have a music studio in my house, and I didn't know what for. I just knew that I was going to have a music studio in my house. Right. And I used to sit in my walk-in closet as a kid, and I used to like record on tapes and like overdub song over song and make my own stuff. Right. And it was like, and I used to just find like used equipment on job sites that I was with my dad, that people be throwing stuff away in the dumpster in like a little apartment complex, and I'd grab that stuff, take it home, figure out how it works and how to wire it in and stuff. And I think that was my very first experience on like wiring, right? And understanding like how things run in parallel and, in series and how to bridge amps and, and maximize your watts and how to drop ohms. And like, this was all stuff that I just learned, and then from there, I got out of high school and I took a pretty big detour and got involved in some stuff I probably shouldn't have got involved in. And I'm lucky to be alive.
Some extracurrurals.
Yeah. Lucky to be alive, lucky to not be in prison for sure.
Wow.
And I just attribute that to, the Lord had a different path for me, man. You know what I mean? So he protected me from a lot of that stuff, even when I was willing to not protect myself, and so, fast forward to where we are now. I mean, I've done a lot of different things. We talked about the car painting and stuff like that, and automotive stuff. And I have multiple trades under my belt. I'm trying to think the music stuff. Like I spent many years doing music, traveling, doing music stuff and performing and stuff like that. And I think it all leads up to today. And I look back and I go, man, I have all of these skill sets that I've accumulated over, and I'm young still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just turned 43.
Yeah.
But man, I've done a lot.
I love that you said that, by the way. I love that you said that you're young and you're 43. And you know what? No, you're right. Like today, like 40 is the new 20. I mean, people are living. I mean,
here's the deal. You don't figure out life until you get to your like late 30s to early
100%,
40s.
bro.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You're just shooting from the hip. Up until then.
You have no idea what you're doing.
You might be able to go make a lot of money, but you still ain't figuring out life.
No clue.
You know what I mean?
No.
So
I don't
at that point, you're just relying on a heavy bank account to fix a lot of problems for you.
Yeah.
So,
well, I always say I've been 19 for the last 20 or so years. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. It takes some time, right? You got to understand how things work. And then you're just like, okay, I got it now. I understand. Now I'm hitting.
But do we really? Come on. Right.
I feel like I understand a whole lot more than I used to.
Oh, no doubt.
So.
There's definitely a sense of like wisdom, like, you know, when you get to a point and you start, I look at myself sometimes, I'm like, did I just think that? Like, that's pretty wise. Like, wow.
Yeah. I just telling somebody the other day, I go back and I listen to myself over between now and like the last 2 years, just listening to myself say things on like podcasts and stuff. And I'm like, wow, dude, I said that.
Like, I can't believe I said that. Yeah.
So grown up.
I have to stop. I don't even when like, you know, because I record all the time. It's like, I'm like, I'm going to say shit that I don't, you know, that's not going to make any sense. And I'm just going to. Let's keep going. I have here's something funny. So through everything, right? I mean, obviously you run an HVAC business, HVAC Tactical. Can you think of a time that was like the weirdest or strangest like circumstance with like a customer ever? I always like to ask people this on every episode. I'd be like,
yeah, I got a weird one for sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a weird one. So I was in Southern Arizona and I was a service technician and I get to the door and they have security doors, right? The metal ones, you can't see through them, right?
Oh.
Because the holes are real small, right? And so it's kind of dark on the backside of the door. So you can see out, but you can't see like in, right?
Okay.
So the guy answers the door and I'm just talking to the door where I hear his voice at, right? So I can't see him. I'm just talking at where I hear his voice. And I was like, yeah, I need to come in. I just need to flip the thermostat on and then I'll jump up on the roof, his package unit. Just jump up on the roof and then I'll do my thing up there. And he doesn't reply back to me. And I'm like, you there? He wasn't there. He already had walked away, but I can't see him. Right. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I grabbed the door handle. I kind of like twist it slowly. And I was like, okay, the door's open. So I start opening the door and I look and he's not there. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm coming in. So I walk in and I'm looking around for the thermostat and I walk in and I get to the hallway and I look down the hallway. And as I look down the hallway, this old man, right, had socks on. And had his white, t-shirt on, but he had no underwear on. And so he's running and all I see this little white cheeks just as he's trying to hustle back to the bedroom. So he's just naked, right? Except for a t-shirt and socks, but that's how he answered the door. And so I looked down the hallway and I was like, what? And I'm just like, oh, there's the thermostat. I'm gonna click and I just turned around and I walked out. But yeah, it's just something funny. I'll never forget.
So it wasn't like a creep guy, just like
yeah, he just answered the door that way and then tried to hustle back to the room before I came in, I guess. I don't know, but it was pretty funny. So that story lasted for quite a while.
Dude, it is absolutely remarkable the amount of people that have stories to tell that have nudity involved. It is
pleasure toys. Yeah.
Oh, dude, unreal. Like how many people in the world and just like out for the world, like you would think like, dude, you got a nightstand? Like, do you have a like you could put it in the nightstand. You know what I mean?
Well, it just goes to show you there's no shortage of freaks, right, in the world.
Yeah, but like if
you should be a little bit, maybe a little bit more
discreet.
Yeah,
a little more discreet. Can you remember like what's one call you ran throughout your days? Not necessarily funny or weird, but like something that you recall and you're like maybe like an aha moment, or you're like, okay, like maybe something insightful, like you met somebody, you were like, oh. That's really interesting. And I'll frame this because I ask a question on every single episode. I alluded to this when we spoke in Dallas, which is what is one call that you've ran? Okay. One experience that you've had. I'm going to ask you for two of them. One's going to be on a call that lives with you wherever you go. Like it was such a profound interaction with a human, okay, or a situation that it lives with you wherever you go. And the second part of that is I'll say, because you've been an employer, you've worked with a lot of people, you've had people, what's one experience you've had with like an employee, okay, that also lives with you?
Mm-hmm. I think I shared this one with you when we were in Dallas, and that was this guy was getting an estimate to replace his air conditioning system, and somehow, some way, the conversation opened up, and he was telling me how his wife has been having an affair, and he doesn't know if he's going to be married, and he doesn't even know if he should buy an air conditioner, and this and that, and man, we just had a heart to heart, and we were crying together, and it was just like, again, I think it was one of those moments that the Lord just put me in that place at that time, because that guy needed me to be there for whatever reason. That will never go away, right? As far as an employee goes, I think one of the biggest lessons that I've had to learn, it was here in Texas. It was with my last company. It was one of the best employees that we ever had at Trusted. And I'm not talking about you, Efren. I'm talking about somebody else. It was, he asked me for, hey, can my wife is off on Thursdays, so can I make sure that I'm off by 5:00 on Thursdays, so I can just, at least be with her, and blah, blah, blah. And it was like two things I think he asked me for. And I just looked at him and I was like, dude, are you out of your freaking mind? Like, this is the HVAC business. Like, dude, if you want a cake job like that, you need to go find another job. Like, that's not how we operate. And that kind of went on for a while. And I ended up losing him. And looking back, it's like, dude, here's a guy who took time to educate himself, right? Took notes. He was always had a little notepad. He was always writing things down as I was explaining things, or if somebody else was explaining things. Took time to teach himself on YouTube and podcasting and this and that. Was great with clients, explained things very well-spoken, super thorough. Like, he did his job to the T, could sell stuff. Like, he was the model employee. And I ended up losing him. And I look back at that and I said, man, should I have made the exception? Right. And a lot of guys will say, well, if you make the exception for him, you have to make the exception for everybody else. And I just go, I don't believe in that anymore. You know what I mean? I believe that you should be rewarded off of the merit of what you bring to the table, off of your value, right? Which is the same argument that can be made is, why should you pay more to go with me versus with this other guy, right? Because I bring more value to the table, and I'm going to show you why, which is why I'm going to outclose you and outsell you, right? And I think that same level of merit should be used with employees, right? If you have a type A employee that shows up early, goes the extra mile, always gets it done, never complains. Like, if he asks you for a day off, why are you going to get pissed off and not allow that to happen? If he has to go home early to be with his wife or his kids, why are you going to find a way to block that? Like, dude, this guy has made you a ton of money. You know what I mean? He goes above and beyond, and you don't want to reward him. You want to treat him like everybody else. Well, maybe he should just start giving you what everybody else gives you, which is just poor performance. How about that? Right? So I think for me, it was a wake-up call from an employer standpoint of, like, not all employees are the same, or should be treated the same. Right. And maybe that's an HR nightmare, right? I don't know, but the way I view it now is like, dude, if you're going to come work for me or work with me, I'm going to look at what you bring to the table, and I'm going to treat you accordingly,
Yeah, I don't think it's an HR nightmare. I think, and there's a difference between, I've heard this before, the difference between like fair and equitable. Right. So I do believe that we live in a meritocracy. I mean, that's what we do. Right. And so you can run your company like a meritocracy. Right. So, and if somebody had a problem with it, you could say to them, hey, how come this guy gets, well, you know what? That's an arrangement we have. I mean, it's an employee-employer arrangement we have. And and maybe you're right. Maybe some HR guy's going to tell me, oh, that's not right. I'm sure I've interviewed Ian Shotanis, who's the HR guy, and he probably has all sorts of things to say about this. But you know what? If it's sole proprietorship and, you're not run and governed by some, whatever. I mean, as long as you're in the confines of the law, I can't imagine that being a problem. But then, who knows today? So,
yeah, I mean, when I worked for somebody else, when I left my dad's company, when I was like 21, I was like, dude, I'm out of the business. I'm never going back. Right. This business has a weird way of pulling you back in. I mean, I went to wait tables. Like that's how serious I was about getting out of the HVAC business. And I did that I got into music then too. So I was out of the business for probably about 3 or 4 years. And I finally went back to go back into the trade, and I got a job with a guy, and they had never had employee of the month before. And they decided to bring employee of the month on, and I got it 3 months in a row. You know what I mean? Like I am an incredible number 2, right? My problem is that I don't like to be number 2. I like to be the captain of my own ship. You know what I mean? So, I've thought long and hard about like, you know what, man, I would probably be way more successful, like financially in my life, if I would just go be somebody's number 2. You know what I mean? But I just can't do it, man.
Yeah, it doesn't appear that way. Looks like number 1's the straight and narrow for you here.
I just like I like to own my own thing. I like to be in control and do things the way that I like to do them. And, you know, I don't do everything right, but I feel like when I look at the way other people do things and I go, man, that's just not how you should be doing that. You know what I mean? And I have the ability with my own ship to steer it however I want to steer it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. So how do you decide, I'm curious, on the HVAC Tactical Awards, how do you decide, like, kind of like what categories, you know, you come up with? Like, you think tank them, what do you do?
Just sit around, smoke weed, and just figure it out.
That's what I figured out. Yeah. That's what I figured. Be like, all right, this year, fucking, what are we going to do? Something fucking weird. You know.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we've been thrown a lot of different names, right? A lot of different types of categories, and most of them are like, dude, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm really trying to not make this gimmicky. I'm trying to keep it as like sincere, and as genuine as possible. I
will tell you, and not to interrupt you, but like, you know, I was really fortunate enough this last year to become pretty close from a very far distance with Jen Manzo, and we talk like all the time. And I'll tell you, I think that you know what she does for the industry, by the way, is unreal. But her winning the Lady of the Trade Award like changed her life. It actually changed her life, in my opinion. Okay, and I could be wrong, but from what I could see, like it elevated her status. I think doors opened for her. There was an awareness. I mean, agree, disagree? What do you think? Do you think your awards and award ceremony has an effect on people's careers, on people's success, on awareness? What do you think?
Well, Everett, we're in the life-changing business. We're in the business of awesome, you know?
Yeah.
I think I say that jokingly, but I'm half serious at the same time. You know, I think because I'm the author, if you will, of this stuff, right? These awards and how this whole thing goes. I don't see it. I don't get to see it from the perspective that everybody else gets to see it. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't just get to see behind the curtain. Like I am behind the curtain, right? Like I'm doing all of these things, right? So it's like, you know, back to where we said before, like, I don't do this for me. Like I do this for other people. Like, dude, I don't get paid enough to do this show. You know what I mean? Like,
you love it.
I do love it.
You
right?
love it. Come on.
But if people could peek behind the curtain and see like how much work it really takes to put this thing on. I've been sitting in front of my computer for the last 3 weeks making content. Like I probably punch out more data worth of content for this show than all these guys on social media combined. You know what I mean? Like it's just an incredible amount of work. And I don't say that in like a bragging type of way. It's just, it's a lot of work, and it's constantly processing videos and doing this and right. Yeah. And then I can't get the, like the help from other people. Like, hey, dude, I just need a picture of you, right? Oh yeah, I'll get that to you. Well, 4 weeks later, hey, do you still that? No, dude, I already got it from your Facebook. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you never replied back to me. I had to go. I can't just stop what I'm doing and wait on you. You know?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work, man. It's very, very taxing. It's very, very stressful. It's exhausting. And
well, you could delegate at some point in time.
I'm hoping to start doing that next year for sure. So, but this is, you know, we talked about all the skill sets that I've been able to acquire over my lifetime, right? From the acting to the performing to the trades to video editing to music, right? Like all these things, I'm able to take all these skills and they wrap them all up into a bow for this award show. Like it's hard to explain it, but like all of these things combine, and I'm using all of these skills to do what I'm doing inside of the Tactical brand.
Yeah.
So
100%. Except for the fact that you don't have an HVAC Tactical house band. I volunteer as tribute for that at some point in time. So definitely wouldn't mind writing some licks.
Matt Price would be on board with that for sure. Yeah, we actually talked
about. It's going to be metal, bro. I'm just letting you know. There's no electronics. I mean, there'll be some pedals. It's going to be like a really cool metal kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I know you're a hip hop, right? Aren't you?
When the time comes, I'm an everything. So I love jazz and blues and classical.
Dude, my son
country.
started getting into like weird jazz music on top of all the other nonsense. It's like he's opened my life. Like, it's amazing how our kids are opening up like doorways, and like, I'm like, my goodness, like he had this like Tokyo jazz guy. He was like, check this guy out, Dad. I'm like,
is he also using words like skibbity?
He does. Actually, my daughters use that. My daughters use that more, actually. Hey, would you mind? So I made a couple of social media posts, and I asked like, hey, does anybody have? Because you're elusive. People don't know this. By the way, I'm telling everybody who's watching this or listening. Ben, obviously, because there's so many HVAC podcasts, there's so many like trades podcasts. Everybody wants you on their podcast. Fine, but you're elusive because you do not do, and which I agree with, by the way, in a lot of ways. It has to be live, and I love that. I mean, it's just, you can feel the conversation. It's cooler. Totally get it, and I'm 100% on board with that. Obviously, like with most of my guests, everybody's, you know, for the most part remote, right? I get lucky sometimes. I have a guest coming up who lives in Dallas. Okay, great. Or I fly to Jersey, whatever it is. But I put a post together, and it was some questions. So let's spitball here. Okay, you ready for some questions? Okay,
it's like those read the mean comment.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. We'll start. This is a good one. Okay, so here I'm gonna get the individual who like wrote the comment here. Okay, first and foremost, Jennifer Manzo, HVAC chick Jennifer.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine what's about to come out of her mouth.
She asks, can you wear Croots for the awards?
She already knows the answer to this. Why would she even ask that question?
Well, what's the answer?
She knows the answer. It's no.
She says she wants to wear Croots. Full disclosure, I had no idea what Croots were. Like, and I didn't put context clues together. I literally had to Google it, and go Google Croots, by the way, because the images are hilarious. Okay. So the answer is no, Jennifer.
The answer is no.
Jennifer, you cannot wear Croots to the award show. Okay. Reagan Murphy asks, why does the name sound so aggressive? Can you change the name to something less scary than Tactical?
Like HVAC bunnies? Does he want flowers? You want roses? HVAC roses? How about
I like this.
How about
one.
HVAC sissies? How about that?
HVAC sissies. Okay.
Who was that? Reagan?
Reagan Murphy.
Hey, Reagan Murphy, you can identify however you want to identify, buddy.
Okay, here's some. I get digs all the time, by the way. It's so funny. Okay, so this is somebody who clearly hasn't, right? So they go to me, who are you? And why are you interviewing someone? Oh, man.
They don't realize your podcast famous.
Jennifer responded with, this guy's been living under a rock. He's not worth the response. All right. Let's see. What other question I have here? So I got a question on Instagram. It was, what do you view as your biggest sales accomplishment? This is by Per on Parole. Do you know this individual?
That's him.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. So what is your greatest sales achievement? You have to answer the questions. It's the rules.
Is it a monetary alone?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
No.
So
Like sales
if
achievement can be anything you want it
that's
to
the
be.
case, then we just had this conversation not that long ago. Most of the people on the HVAC Tactical team are not paid.
Right.
So it's all volunteer based.
Right.
And we were in a meeting and something happened. I can't remember how it exactly went down, but I was like, look, I'm the greatest salesman to ever live. I was like, I've somehow convinced all of you guys to come and do all of this stuff for free.
For free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's good, man. Okay. Worst hire you've ever made.
Oh, yeah, I can tell you right now. I know the guy's name. He lives here locally. Yeah.
Why?
Because of his ego.
Wow.
Yep.
Ego is not my amigo.
Yep. Ego will kill, literally can kill you faster than anything. But ego will kill your career super, super fast. So, yep.
Wow.
And I can tell you this, not that long after he left here, I got a phone call from somebody that he applied with, friend of mine, asking me if I knew who he was. I said, sure do. He goes, what can you tell me? I go, don't hire him.
Yeah.
So not only did his ego kill his career here, but it killed his second shot at that other company.
We are an incestuous industry. Everybody knows everybody. Dude, people come from other markets into a market and you're like, yeah, I know that guy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something else. I won't drop any names, but they're here in the social media world. Somebody looking for a job. That company reached out to me. Again, not an HVAC company, right? Hey, do you know this person? I go, yeah. What can you tell me about him? And I go, why? What's going on? Well, he filled out an application. We're thinking about hiring him. I said, I mean, you can hire him if you want. And he's like, what would you do? And I said, I wouldn't hire him. And they said, why? I said, he's not really the kind of guy that I would want repping my brand. You know what I mean? And cost him a job, right? So it just goes to show that you never know, right? And I have no ill will towards this guy at all, right? It's
Right.
like I have a company who actually is a friend of mine, right? That asked me an honest question, and I'm not going to steer him wrong for the sake of this other guy just getting a job.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you that the industry is so small, and the way you conduct yourself out in public around other people, dude, it can have a dramatic effect on your career, right? So no matter who's around, conduct yourself accordingly. Conduct yourself with character. Conduct yourself with integrity. Like it goes a long way, right? If I go to hire somebody, one of the first things I do, I go to their Facebook. Are you out partying, boozing pictures like this, flipping the camera off every chance you get? I won't hire you because of that. Like, I don't want that image.
Man, some of the best reps I've ever known were partiers, man. And see, it's tough. I have a soft spot for this whole thing, you know, like social media persona versus real persona. Like, I get it. You're putting it out there. You know, there's an edge to you that you are probably aware of. And I've noticed this now. Yeah, you. I've noticed this now in the couple conversations, you know, we have talked, you know, do you view yourself like that? Like having a little bit of I don't want to call it cynicism. It's not cynicism, but it airs on, it borders on, you know, I don't know. In some conversations, or sometimes it's, are you a black and white person, or is there a lot of gray for you?
Why is that funny?
Do you know what you know why I'm asking this question? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like that's not a black and white question.
So there is
right?
gray because you're clearly answering in a gray manner right now for sure. Yeah, there's definitely I do and I think it's just people with similar personality types. I just think there's that there can be definitely like a sharp edge.
Well, I told you before, I want to know the rules, and then I'm going to find a way to skate around the rules.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, there's some like non-negotiables for me. Right. And again, this is for me. This is not for anybody else. Right. You choose whatever's important to you. But like, you know, cheating on your wife, like that's a non-negotiable for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not going to do it. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's just certain things like, hey, let's go smoke some crack. No, I think I'm good. I think I'm going to pass on that one. You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain things that would be completely black and white for me. Right. And then there's other things where, you know, it's
there's
like,
gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you want to do a rail of Coke? Let's go.
Hey, where are those whiskeys at? Ephraim, where are those whiskeys at? You know, like on Joe Rogan, who's in the background? Jamie. He's like, Jamie, can you look up, can you pull, Jamie, can you pull up,
he's my Jamie for sure.
Ephraim, can we get some whiskey here?
I'm just kidding for the record. Anybody listening, I don't do Coke. So
yet.
Only if there's hookers around.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been told that there's I've been told that I'm very intimidating. And then there's other people who are like, man, you're so easy to talk to. You know?
But see, that's just about personality types, right? Because yes, I think that some people could definitely find you to have like, you know, an intimidating mannerisms, but yeah.
And I can toggle between being an introvert and an extrovert, right? Where it's like I can be the center of attention and the funny guy in the room, and I can also be the guy sitting in the corner not saying anything. It just depends on how I'm feeling in the moment. So
what's the most fun for you about aside from your brand? What's the most fun part of the like HVAC world? Like, what is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say for me would be for a long time it was the thrill of the sale, right? When I was doing full-time sales.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, man, I just walked out of here. I sold this $100,000, you know, several system job. And it's just like,
it's a drug.
Wait a minute. Now I got to go install these things. You know what I mean? I got to be here next week to install this. I don't want to do this. But when it comes to like installing stuff, it's like wiring and piping is probably my favorite things to do.
Wiring and piping.
Yeah.
Sales is exciting.
Yeah.
What's your view on the fact, like, okay, so one of the things that there's a really big divide in our industry between, you know, sales and service guys who like just don't know that they're actually in sales, right? Like they want to fix stuff. That's fine. They don't realize like everything. Listen, this is my view. You can disagree with me, but like anything that happens, everything, right? Nothing happens until something is bought or sold.
100%.
Period. End of story. Like mic drop. So it's disingenuous now I get it. You want to go into the trades because you want to put your head down. You want to fix stuff. That's fine. You get you get paid to do that. Fine. What is your take on this? Because it tends to be, there is a divide in our industry. There is. And I've interviewed people on both sides of the spectrum, and I will continue to push this button and create awareness because it's something that I'm passionate about, right? And making sure everybody knows that, look, yes, this is a service industry, and yes, this is a sales industry.
So I think it's important for people listening to understand that I have a background in sales. But before I had the background in sales, I absolutely hated sales and I hated salesmen, right? And I was the technician and the installer that would be cursing at these sales guys for doing whatever it is they're doing. And it was when I had my own company and I had lost my sales guys and I had no other choice but to get out there and do it on my own. I had no choice. And I had to get out there and I had to go to a sales class and I had to learn this stuff, right? But then again, the non-negotiable for me, right? I had to draw the line in the sand. And it's like, look, I am not here to sell something for the sake of selling something. right? I will not sell something to a homeowner unless it has a direct impact on them, their lives in that home or the home itself. Right. And so, and then at that point, I still need to do my due diligence and educate these homeowners to make sure that they know what it is they're buying and why. Right. And then to have realistic expectations of the thing that they're buying, because the last thing that I want is somebody to be regretful, right? Like a regret buy, right? It's like, oh man, I don't know why I bought this. I don't know why I spent $20,000 on this thing, and I can't tell you how many times I've been to a job out to install a unit. And I'm like, well, this is what we're going to do today. And he's like, yeah, I don't even know why I bought this thing. That guy's a heck of a salesman. It's like, well, are we installing this today or what do you want to do? You know what I mean? Like it puts me in a really weird spot when I'm just there to install a unit. You know what I mean? So I vowed going through those experiences. I learned a lot about the sales process, but I also learned what I don't like about certain high pressure sales processes, right? Like, man, close it while you're at the kitchen. I get it. If your objective is to close deals, then yeah, that's exactly what you want to do, right? But I think you have to determine who it is you want to be in this business. There's absolutely nothing wrong with selling something, right? In fact, if you're married, right, you probably sold something to your wife this morning before you left, right? And basically what that boils down to is, what did you convince her of that you are trying to sell her, right? Oh, I'm going to go out with my buddies, or I'm going to go to the bar tonight, or I'm going to go watch the game over here. Like, you had to sell her on that, right? So it's like everybody's a salesman at some level. Some people in our industry just sell air conditioners, right? So yeah, I'm a good old boy, right? Like most people most service techs in our industry, most installers, we don't want to deal with money. We don't want to mess with the homeowner. We don't, hey, you got to pay. I used to be like, hey, dude, the office will bill you. No, I'll write you a check right now. Nope, office will bill you. I'm out. I don't want to mess with it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I had to get over that hurdle. I had to learn how to get over that hurdle. And after I did that, it was easy. It would be like, oh, this is going to be, 19,000, whatever.
It's almost literally like asking you shall receive. It's so much more simple than people make it out to. It's just like, how would you like to pay for that?
You would be surprised at what you can get out of life, not just in sales, right? But just in life.
Sure.
If you just ask.
Just ask for it.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is okay. When people will say, no, you know what? I don't want to bother. Or I don't want to, like, they have this mental hurdle, this mental block that they won't ask for something that they genuinely want. And then they'll be actually dissatisfied with some sort of unmet expectation in their life. Right. And then I will say to them, hey, why didn't you just speak up? Just speak up. You got to get past that point. And that's really good. I find it very interesting. It doesn't surprise me that you got through that, but it probably is a major hurdle for some people, right? They don't want to put themselves out there. They don't want to ruffle feathers. They don't want to become abrasive or whatever it is. And I think a lot of people care a lot about how they appear to people that probably don't really care too much, or will never care about them at all. Yep. Right. But I do believe that there's a lot of wisdom in people that are successful in life and get the things that they want. It's because they go after it and they get it. They ask for it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in shooting for whatever's out of your league, right? You think she's out of your league, go for it. Go for it. You think that car is out of your league?
You're a bottom of the pile guy. You're scrappy, right? Like you're a bottom of the pile guy. You know what I'm talking about? Like a bottom of the pile guy. Like they're tearing off all the people like that were in that fight. And they're like, oh, this guy, there he is. He's right at the bottom of the pile, right? You went after it. You're like,
I just think, I've learned a lot in my life, you know what I mean? And the older I get, like, you don't get to a point where you just stop learning and you figure it out, right? Like I've been saying this about mastering your craft. Like you never get to a point where you just arrive and you're like, I'm a master of my craft. The goalpost just keeps getting pushed down the road, right? Yeah. You just keep learning and you keep educating yourself and you keep trying new things and you keep thinking outside the box. You take the rules that have been written and you go, okay, how can I manipulate these rules to make something better out of this thing? You know what I mean? Yeah. How can I be on the fringe of things and do things different, right? When I was teaching sales for Lennox, part of what I would teach in the class was be different in every aspect of the word, right? From the way that you speak to the way that you dress, to the way that you conduct yourselves, to the vehicle that you drive, like just be different. If you got 3, 4, 5, I've been on a call one time. I was a 16th person in to do an estimate. Can you imagine sitting through 16 sales calls?
Yeah. I've had customers that,
when I found that out, I said, I'm done here. Oh, you're not going to give me? No way. Well, why not? Well, why do you think I don't want to give you a price? Right. The only reason I'm even here is because I didn't know that. Right. But the only reason that you would even want me here as the 16th person is because you're trying to find out who can do it for the cheapest. And I'm not that guy.
So I trained a sales rep who's now a very successful sales rep. I trained him years ago, and he was a dispatcher, and we just groomed him into a sales rep, right? He went out to a house, and, I would sort of do some of that stuff, like teach him some tricks from the trade, and he goes out to this guy's house, and the guy had 10 quotes. So similar situation, right? And he goes, hey, like, how in the world are you going to figure out which one of these 10 quotes to even to go with? And the guy starts, talking or whatever. He's like, I have an idea. Why don't you do this? I'll help you. We're going to put all the quotes and we're going to tape them up on the wall over here. Then we're going to put a blindfold around your eyes. We're going to spin you around. We're going to take a dart, boop, and wherever the dart lands, that's the company that we're going to use. When he told me this story, I was like,
did he really do this?
Yes.
And it worked?
No.
Oh.
The guy didn't actually do it. He just said, he was basically calling the guy stupid, saying like, dude, you have so much information here. Like, there's no way.
It's too much.
Sometimes it's not necessarily about price. Some people are actually very scared to make decisions. And so it's very important to become a decision enabler. And I have had customers, many over the years, that have had 5, 6, 7, 8 quotes that have gone with me, not being the cheapest quote, simply because of the fact that I gave them enough data, understanding their personality type, where I could provide them with that. And a lot of people didn't want to spend that time. So again, most of the time it's not a great use of time, but in many cases, like you say, like you're always looking to rewrite the rules. Like sometimes I'll be like, here's a challenge. I'm gonna really go after this one right here. Like I'm not giving up. Like,
yeah. And again, right, there's the rules, and then there's always the exceptions to the rules. Right. And that's going to be true in all things.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I've just learned if you have 5 bids or more, like you're just price shopping. And that's, again, it's not going to be, there's always the exception to the rule, but as a blanket statement, like that's a pretty accurate statement.
You and I are very similar, because I see that, and I literally am like, I throw the gauntlet down and I'm like, this is a challenge. I want to break this guy's dichotomy of why he shouldn't be shopping for the cheapest price. And then I will go after it and try to make sense of it. Right. Like, hey, do me a favor. Forget about price. Pretend every quote you have is free. Everyone. Okay. I'm going to go through this.
You sound like a real salesman.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Here's the reason why, right? Because at the end of the day, even if they don't choose me, I want them to make a comparative, right? That does not include monetary comments. And look, sometimes I'd be cheaper. Sometimes they'd be more expensive, but I never knew, right? You never knew who else was coming in the door, what they were quoting. But the point is, I want to put all that aside and dismiss it completely. Just dismiss it. So anyway, it's not really, I want to get like deep into like a sales conversation, but it's good. It's a good conversation to have. I think the point I'm trying to say is I want to try to do what you said, which is like, be different. So I would just try everything in my power to like try to be different. I think everybody else went in there and goes, well, drop a quote, see ya.
Yeah. What's made me successful in my HVAC career is being different. So
yeah, but you also probably garner a hell of a lot of trust from people, a lot of credibility. You have a lot of technical knowledge. You sound intelligent. Like there's a lot of things that go into that. Speaking of which, if you were looking at your younger self, or even young people in the industry right now, and you could give some words of wisdom, like what would you say to yourself? What would you say to your younger self, or the younger generation out there, younger set of techs, younger set of sales reps, people starting in the industry?
I would say find your groove and run in it. Find your passion, master your craft. That would be my advice. My biggest problem not just in my career, but in my life, is that I become very dissatisfied with things and I jump to something new. And so I run in a lane in things until I feel like it's a spider web, until I feel as though I've mastered it enough, and then I move on. So, which is
that
why,
wrong? Is that wrong though?
no, I don't think so. It's just, has its pros and it has its cons, right? It's allowed me to, it's allowed me to acquire a ton of skills in life, right? But on the flip side, it's also stopped me from running in a lane long enough to
Oh my God.
to take this one thing and just blow it up. You know what I mean? So
you're speaking out of my brain. I've done that quite a few times. I can't get complacent doing something. And then once you get, you kind of feel like it's run its course.
Yeah.
You start to move on. And I'm trying to get better with that. I'm trying to dig my toes in. Well, with this, it's good with you. You've been doing this some years now. So
it's about 6 years old.
You can add on to it. There's things you can do. So it never.
Well, I think that's probably why I've allowed it to be fluid and let it grow, because it's something different. Right.
Yeah.
So
what's the next thing though? You can't talk about it, but talk about what is it? What's the next step?
I told you I can't talk about it.
Yeah. Can't talk about it.
That was a great effort though. I mean, you are a sales guy.
Yeah, but I don't shield it. I don't hide it. I understand it,
I have about 3 things that I've been working on for the last couple of years that I just can't seem to get over this hump. So,
but you're getting over it now.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not I'm focused on what we currently have going on. Right. And for the last 12 months, about a year ago, I decided, you know what, if I need to slow down and I need to stop going, oh, let's do this. Oh, let's do this. Oh, let's do this. Right. So I decided, hey, I need to slow down and I need to start building a team of people around me if I want to scale this thing. And so that's what I've been focused on doing. And so as now I'm starting to bring these people on board, right? And I'm at the same time, simultaneously, I'm building credibility within the brand, right? We keep building this reputation. The show keeps growing. The show is what slingshotted this whole thing to where it's at.
People like shows.
Yeah. And so it's just different. Something that's never been done.
Never been done. No one's ever done it.
And so because of all of that, I'm just trying to slow down, cultivate this team of people. And then as this thing, I can take a step back and this thing is still running, then I can go, now let's put some energy into
you can work on the business instead of in the business. You're not shipping out of this location. You're not, you ship out of here? Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. Does it ever get overwhelming? Are you ever
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we ship all of the swag comes out of this property, and it has since day one. So this is where everything started.
That's super cool. I love that.
And now we have the new shop that's being built in the back. It's almost done, and everything's going to be shipped out of there. And at some point, I want to have a brand manager, somebody who is. In fact, I can share this. I have a meeting set up with 511. So, so that's going to be pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to team up with them on pants. And so we can get into the pant game.
Pants.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Pants, fancy pants,
work pants. Yeah.
Work pants.
So, yeah, I mean, once I can get into the work apparel on a large scale, now I become competitive to True Work and Dickies and Carhartt. Right.
And now you're in stores. That's pretty cool.
Sky's the limit. So
yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Couple other, you fly planes?
I do.
That's pretty cool.
Not as often as I would like to.
Okay. So you fly me around in a plane next time I come down. That's cool.
I'll just come pick you up.
Yeah. Yeah, but I like the adventure. I love Austin, man. Dude, I love Austin's so cool. Iron Man, tell me about him.
My boy Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything more than just like, oh, okay, I like Iron Man? Because I mean, he's flexing on the wall over there.
Should call my phone, Evan.
Do it. Call his phone. Jamie. Oh, Jarvis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold it up to the mic.
It's Jarvis.
Yeah, I am an Iron Man junkie for sure. Like I don't have a ton of collectibles or anything like that. It's just
He's your favorite Marvel
he's my
guy.
favorite. Yeah, and partly because he's as Kanye would say, right? My musical geniusness. Is that what he says?
That's cool, man.
No, I feel like one of my dreams was always to own a R&D facility and just R&D cool stuff. So I'm an inventor at heart. And I've had a patent pending on a condenser pad with adjustable feet on it. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That I almost sold to Diversitech. So
almost.
Yeah,
They didn't want
they
it.
backed out.
They backed out.
But they also told me in the process that they're like, we're not going to do anything with this. We're going to buy it and put it on a shelf. So.
Oh, but they didn't buy it.
They ended up not buying.
Wow.
It, no. Yeah. They basically told me we're going to give you, we want to give you some money up front, and then when your patent gets a final
royalties
approved,
and all that stuff,
we'll give you money on the back. Well, no royalties because they weren't going to sell it. They were just going to put it on a shelf. Basically, it was a competing product.
Sure. You just get rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that's the business world, man?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
They got the funds to be able to do it. Right. And Rector Seal, I had conversations with Rector Seal and they weren't interested from the get go. So I appreciated that, but it just never went anywhere with Diversitech, but and a few other things. I have a whole book of things that I've drawn up and stuff like that.
Wow. So actually one of my favorite quotes from the Iron Man movies was, I forget if it was the third one, and it was about him being a tinkerer.
Mm-hmm.
He's always tinkering. That was, I don't know, it just rang a bell. And my son is my son is, I say was because years ago I said he was 3 years in a row he was Iron Man for Halloween. So but yeah, man, this has been a really cool conversation. So before we sort of wind this down, is there anything you'd like to share? Anything that's a burning thought on your mind? Except, so we really didn't talk about the upcoming award show at all. We kind of just touched on it, but I mean, any surprises, any cool stuff, anything that you feel is going to be this year is going to be just that much?
I think the live stream this year is going to be really, really good. Navien is the sponsor of the live stream this year. GE's title sponsor, Supco RLS, gold sponsors. Vito got tool bags coming in. I'll show it to you.
Those are nice bags
when we're done here, but it's a custom HVAC Tactical Vito bag.
That's
so
sweet. It's
kind of a one of a kind. Trying to think what else. Webstone silver sponsor. There's a lot of sponsors involved. We've never had this many sponsors before, so this is different. It's been difficult to manage all of that. Yeah. So we're going to make some changes next year to try to probably dwindle down some sponsors. So we don't have so many.
Send them my way.
Yeah. Which means that the prices will probably go up for sponsorship, and that's the way things usually go, right?
Sure.
When things grow, that's just the way it goes. But
well, they want more of most sponsors don't mind. They're like, yeah, I want more of an elite, sort of.
Yeah, and reality is like this whole thing is like all these companies, they just want to support the community and what's going on and stuff, and because this event has become what it has become, and it becomes kind of the talk of HR and stuff like that after the fact.
Oh yeah. Super smart doing it the night before, by the way.
I wish I could say that I had this grand plan to make it. It just happened. You know what I mean? It just kind of became a thing. So
I'll be outside.
I wish I could say that I had all of these strategic things all planned out, right? But reality is man, it's
just happened.
I am where I'm supposed to be exactly when I'm supposed to be doing it, right? Like God has put me here to do what I'm doing. And all of this stuff is honestly, it's because I've just been handed a handful of grace, man. So
is there anything you're nervous about that night specifically?
Of course. It's like, I have this thing where like I can put myself in a situation and I can, excuse me, and I can like the dopamine and the adrenaline releases, right? Like it's an automatic thing. I don't know why it does it or how it does it, but you okay? No. But I was thinking about getting on stage and doing the speech thing that I have to do. And all of a sudden, like the heart rate just right. The adrenaline drops and I'm just like, I can feel it. Right. And I'm like, and it's just weird. And I'm just thinking about it. Right. But this happens to me all the time. And it's just like, it's just this thing that happens to me. I don't know. But, and so it's like literally a reenactment of how I feel when I get on stage. It's like, I don't like that feeling because it's like nervousness, but at the same time, it's like, it's like anything. You just got to warm up to the crowd.
Anxiety.
You're an artist. You get it. You got to warm up to the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, luckily you have presenters. You have a couple of really nice presenters. Yeah. You've got a lot of good people. You got great teammate. Colleen and I have become acquainted recently.
Colleen's great. She runs the venue, and all that crap that comes along with all that.
Colleen Keyworth, by the way. I did an interview. She's my last audio episode. But anyway, there's video too. So if you get a chance, check that out.
Yeah, so I'm trying to stay off stage completely until the end of the show. I'm going to give one farewell speech and that's it. So,
will you have a drink?
Probably not.
Good for you.
Yeah, probably not. I'm almost a year now not drinking. So
that's amazing. Yeah, congratulations. Bro, this is an amazing conversation. This is actually really cool. I love the fact that we didn't live stream this. I love the fact that I'm not paying attention to comments coming in. We're here just having this conversation. It's super cool. Anything else? I think what do you think?
I would just say, man, find what you want to do and who you want to be in this industry and just run with it, man. You know what I mean? And, focus on that, master your craft, but also don't forsake the journey. There's a lot of really cool things that are going to happen between now and, year 5 of your career, right? Don't try to skip all that stuff just for the sake of trying to get there fast. Enjoy the journey while it's there, because there's a ton of things that you're going to learn in that time frame that if you skip it, it's going to just be an even harder lesson and an even more expensive lesson to learn after the fact. So that would be one of my biggest pieces of advice.
I love it, dude. This is awesome. Thank you, bro. Really amazing night.